Breaking this afternoon, the U.S. House of Representatives will vote on a bill to eliminate two Social Security provisions after over 212 representatives signed a discharge petition to bring the bill straight to the House floor. As of 4 p.m. today, there were 219 signatures from Congress who have signed the discharge petition. The bill, labeled the Social Security Fairness Act of 2023, aims to eliminate two Social Security provisions in the U.S. Those provisions are the Windfall Elimination Provision, or WEP, and the Government Pension Offset, or GPO. H.R. 82 was co-authored by Louisiana Republican Congressman Garrett Graves and Virginia Democratic Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger. H.R. 82 will now head to the House floor for a vote. If passed, the bill will head to the Senate for their approval. And in a joint statement, Congressman Graves and Congresswoman Spanberger said this: "Today is a major milestone made possible by tireless advocates who've made clear that Congress must act. From Louisiana to Virginia to everywhere else in America, millions of retired public servants have waited for more than 30 years for their elected officials to tackle this fundamental issue of fairness. These retirees deserve the benefits they earned through their hard work, and they deserve to see the WEP and GPO eliminated." And according to Congressman Graves, these two provisions unfairly reduce or eliminated earned Social Security benefits for approximately 2.8 million Americans who've devoted much of their careers to public service, including police officers, firefighters, educators, and federal, state, and local government employees.